Hey everybody, I'm Mr. Mills, and today we're going to be talking about solving one-step equations. Now, we've solved equations quite a bit this year in algebra, and we've done so much that we've started out with these smaller equations that we can solve in just one step, and we've moved on to, and we've graduated into, I guess I could say, into these larger, massive equations that require 5, 6, or even 7 steps sometimes, okay? So over the next week and a half or so, we're going to review how to solve equations because during this remote learning time, where things are very strange, I think it's important to start going back to where we all started from before we move on to anything new, right? Any new concepts or anything like that. Okay, so I'm going to start off by solving these simpler one-step equations. Okay, so this first guy, I have 13 plus z equals 46. I'm trying to get z by itself, right? Because z is an introvert and it wants to be alone, away from everybody else. Z is social distancing right now, okay? So how do I get z by itself? What do I have to do with this positive 13 over here? How do I undo a positive 13? Well, what is the opposite of adding something? What's the opposite of addition? The opposite of addition is subtraction, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and subtract 13 to both sides. Minus 13. Okay? And so when I subtract 13 here, that leaves me with z equals 46 minus 13. I'm not sure what that is. I can use my calculator if I don't know off the top of my head. 46 minus 13 is 33. Okay? Now, since z is completely by itself, I am completely done with the problem. I can box in my answer, and I can move on to the next one. Now, if I wanted to, I could very well take this answer here, this 33, and sub it into the original equation to check my answer, check my solution, make sure it works. But trust me, this one, z equals 33, this one works. Okay? Now, this next problem, I have 3/5 x equals -6, okay? And so this fraction here, right now it looks kind of annoying or confusing, right? I'm not sure where to get started, but all I have to remember is that fractions are just numbers, right? There's no reason to be like intimidated by them or anything when you see them in a problem. They're just numbers, right? That's the same thing as having, I don't know, 10x equals whatever. Right? It's just a number that's in front of x, and hey, how do I get rid of that number in front of x? Okay? So, right now I have 3/5 times x. How do I undo multiplication? What's the opposite of multiplication? Well, the opposite of multiplication is division. So I'm going to go ahead and divide by that number right there. I'm going to divide by 3/5. Okay? And I'm going to do that to both sides. Okay? Now, if you notice, I put my 3/5 in parentheses, and why did I do that? Well, because when you type in 3/5 into your calculator, I need you to be careful with those parentheses because calculators get confused sometimes on what's being divided where, right? So I put divided by in parentheses 3/5, right? That way the calculator doesn't get confused. Okay? So when I do that, over here, you'll see that 3/5 divided by 3/5 actually reduces out to just 1, right? So 1x. And the reason that is because whenever you divide a number by itself, it's always going to be 1, right? And then on the right side, what is -6 divided by 3/5? Well, -6 divided by 3/5 is -10. Okay? So now I have 1x equals -10. That 1 in front doesn't really matter to me, right? Because 1 times anything is just whatever the other number is. 1 times x is just x, right? So this leaves me with x equals -10. That is my final answer. I can box it in. I'm all good because x is completely by itself. X is an introvert. So I'm completely done because x is all alone, just like x wants to be. Okay? And so that's all for today. Check back tomorrow where we'll do some multi-step equations. Thanks.